Welcome everybody to Business Monday. I'm Josh Fenton, CEO of GoLocal. We've got a busy day today. We'll kick it off with our friend here, Pat McNiff, in 1 second. Then we've got Nick Heeman coming in about half an hour to talk about Providence Schools. He is the chairman of the Providence School Committee. And then at 4 o'clock, we've got Gary Sass, the money man, talking about everything from schools to budgets and everything in between. So, Pat McNiff, welcome.
Hey, thanks so much for having
absolutely.
me. Appreciate it.
Pat's Pastured in East Greenwich,
Yep.
big farm, unlikely journey to becoming a farmer.
Yeah.
Started at Providence College, English major, history major,
public service minor.
And how'd you get there?
How to get to PC?
No, how'd you get to be a farmer?
Oh, so yeah, as many people know, PC doesn't have a big ag program.
Yeah, have not seen it up on Smith Hill. No.
But I actually, when I was at PC, worked in the Smith Hill neighborhood. I worked with at-risk youth, and we had a garden program there that I was part of, and didn't know a whole lot from Long Island, the suburbs, not from the farming side, and learned as I went along. But I knew the kids and could teach agriculture enough. I could be one step ahead of them, and that's how I got my start, kind of working in farming, and it's been a great journey since.
And now you've got an interesting farm that does everything from farmers market to delivering food to home delivery to camps in the summertime for farm camp. Talk a little bit about, so one day you say, I'm going to start my own farm.
Yep.
You and your wife, and you started with, what was your first element to your farm? Yeah.
So I think I was trying to figure out how I was an organic vegetable farmer, and we were trying to figure out how we're omnivores. We eat meat, we eat vegetables. How to raise the highest quality pasture raised and grass fed meat in our state. And so I started with chickens. I had a few chickens, 50 chickens and a couple pigs. And the response was incredible in terms of people just being so excited about the product that we continue to grow and grow ever since.
How many chickens, pigs, cows? Give us a little census.
So we farm about 150 acres in East Greenwich.
Yeah.
East Greenwich, Exeter, and North Kingstown. We raise about 40 head of cattle a year. We do a couple hundred pigs a year. We do about 10,000 broiler chickens a year that we process on farm, and that's all not at once. That's rolling throughout the season. We do about 500 turkeys for Thanksgiving. We raise a couple hundred ducks for eggs, and we do about a couple thousand laying hens for free-range eggs.
And what's the response? I mean, this is an unusual Rhode Island organism. They're not. This is not Iowa.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
What's been the response been from the consumer?
Well, one of the great parts about not being from Iowa is that we're so close to our customers.
Right.
And so we're a half an hour away from markets, and for us to be a farm, we really need to sell our product retail.
Yeah.
And so we have farmers markets, we have restaurants, some of the best restaurants I've ever been to in the country, in the world. We do home delivery, we do pre-orders for farmers markets, and all those things that people just respond because they're really looking for meat that they trust. They know how it's raised, they know the people who raise it, and it's raised in a way that they believe in.
And you've diversified it with camps and with other elements. Talk about that maturation of your business model over the years. The folks who are watching this a lot of times are small business people or people working, thinking about starting their own business. So, it's intimidating, right?
Yeah.
Because you started here,
Yep.
and now you're here.
Right. Yeah, and it kind of grew organically, pun and no pun intended. So we
No one ever says it grew processed-wise.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
No. So the educational part is very much a part of my, being raised by two teachers and my whole family of teachers. My wife is a teacher, so kind of we believe teaching the next generation. So the camps come out of teaching that next generation about how their food is raised and how to preserve soil and how to preserve our environment. And all the other things we've done is kind of really to raise awareness and to create more of a market locally for farm products, not just ours, but other farmers in Rhode Island.
Is there enough product? I remember a New York Times story, 10 years ago on a Sunday about the travels of a kiwi, leaving the South Pacific coming here and how much of a carbon footprint impact it has.
Sure.
Squids being caught off of Rhode Island, come in, get processed in Galilee, then get frozen, shipped to China to clean,
And come
get
back.
defrost, get cleaned, get refrozen, and shipped all the way back to Rhode
Right.
Island. Not the most efficient structure to
Right.
create food supply. Talk a little bit about that and how you're adding to it, and what's the limitations, if there are any?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, to start with, the limitations is land.
Yep.
They're not making any more of the land side of things for Rhode Island. We're bigger at low tide, but that's about it. So being, land is one of our critical things. We're lucky we have great landowners who lease to us and provide us with our land. We're part of the East Greenwich Land Trust, which is a wonderful opportunity for us to have preserve working farms and see families like ours kind of make a living.
So landowners have sold their development rights in a number of situations.
Some situations for other farms. Ours is actually owned by the town of East Greenwich. It's preserved permanently as a working farm, and we are lucky enough to lease it from the town at an affordable rate. And so those are exciting opportunities. But I think part of it is the sustainability side of this is we're producing a product where people know where it comes from. They understand, there's a relationship there. And a lot of times you're talking about like things being shipped across, to other countries and back. We don't longer control how things are raised and what happens to our food. So by raising it locally and having good customer contact with our retail customers, we pull back that veil of secrecy around our food system a little bit more. And I think that is really important and really a unique part of being in Rhode Island, a small state where people can come out and visit our farm and see how we raise things.
You talked a little bit before we came out about developing best practices as a business and becoming more efficient and leaner, higher quality control, et cetera. Talk about how that's added to your business model and what the efficiencies can be achieved in the long term. Where can you go with it?
Sure. I mean, one of the big partners we've worked with has been Polaris and with Commerce Corp in terms of helping us look at, a couple years back I said to the head of Polaris, hey, what do you think about using lean manufacturing processes like they use at Toyota in a farming situation? And to his credit was really on to like, yeah, we could do that. And so us and a number of other farms have worked together to use some of those techniques to improve our efficiencies, to improve our effectiveness as businesses, and to grow our businesses in a sometimes in a tough market where labor and stuff is difficult. It helps us think about process efficiencies, and we've been really lucky to work with Polaris and Commerce in that way.
You talked about labor force. It's just about every entrepreneur who comes on here talks about that as being a challenge, whether they're employing 300 or trying to go from 3 to 5 employees. There are not a lot of ag classes being taught at Rhode Island high schools. If you go to Providence, there's not a lot of anything being taught in Rhode Island high schools. Maybe that's the escape route for Providence, that we start teaching agricultural training. How do you deal with that? How do you recruit employees? How do you retain them in a fairly vibrant economy with a low unemployment rate?
Sure. I mean, I think part of it is kind of what our compensation is. We're higher than what you would expect for farming. That goes without saying. I think part of it is, too, farmers a lot of times have been seen as maybe the people who didn't make it off the farm or aren't the most highly educated. But I think it takes a lot of intellect and smarts, whether you've gone through higher education or not, to run a farm. You have to be a business person, a scientist. You have to be you have to be a mechanic. You have to be a lot of different skills. And I think what we're trying to do is show people who want to work there that our business is a learning business. We're trying to improve on a daily basis through constant improvement, and that it's a powerful place to work where you can learn a lot of different skills.
What time do you get up in the morning?
I get up around 4:30 in the morning, but I also have a newborn too. So
have you taught him to drive a tractor yet?
Not yet, but my daughter is really into the mower right now.
Where do you see it going next? Nobody can predict 5 years away unless you live in Maoist China or something with their 5-year plans. But where are you going to be in 12 to 24 months?
Well, I mean, I think for us, it's continuing to build. Like, our strongest base is our amazing customers in Rhode Island who we have these strong relationships with. We started a home delivery program with our farm that you can get to through our website. And
what can I get delivered?
Any of our meat, eggs, honey, maple syrup. We partner with some other farms so that you can get some of those products as well. And it's dropped right to your door. You put a cooler outside, and we show up and drop it right in there. So, I mean, those kind of things, we're trying to take the barriers away from our customers to get our product, to get access to our product, is kind of where we're going to, thinking about how, people can get anything they want tomorrow now. And so we can't get there.
Soon to be today.
Yeah, we can't get there. We're not going to put drones out, but we can create systems that allow that product to
You
get
say
enhanced.
now you won't use
Yeah,
drones.
well, we'll see. Pat's Pastured drones are in development.
If you
right
saw
now.
that Frenchman Zapata with his hoverboard
Yeah.
flying over Paris
You
on
never know.
Bastille Day, that could be you.
It could be us.
Honey, I got to take a little break.
We'll do another interview then.
So expansion of availability, how big can you get? I mean, I don't mean to dwell on this, but as folks do get much more focused on wanting to buy locally, and to some degree it's been huge for our growth. We cover local news.
Yep.
We're not going to cover the world court per se, but we're going to pound away on what's going on at the State House or in the town hall. People want that connection, that contact. That's where they live their lives. Can you get 10 times bigger?
So, I mean, part of it is if we got too big, at least in our footprint, we become a feedlot, which is, antithesis to what we want to do.
Right.
But we can also work with other farms, both in Rhode Island and in the region. I know we're a big little state, but we need to also think about how regionally in New England as a whole, we can kind of support each other's food systems. And that's how I see both us growing as well as kind of, raising all the boats in the harbor here, is providing more opportunities. Maybe we're delivering now some, sauerkraut and some other things from local food producers, honey and maple syrup. Well, that could grow, and we're developing that infrastructure to help do some of that.
How have you worked with Commerce? What have been the initiatives that you've worked with them on?
Sure. So we've worked with Real Jobs through Polaris, which has helped in a number of different places. Some of which we've done some ESL classes with some of our staff that need it. We've done the lean trainings that we've done through Polaris. We received a couple grants through Commerce for doing solar energy projects on farm to provide energy for our farm. All those things have been really wonderful, and they've been really supportive of what we're doing.
In a perfect world, what would be the next step for you guys if you had sort of the dream scenario besides cloning yourself twice, once for the baby?
We have two kids now, so well, I think our ideal would be to find our own farm someday, our own piece of land. It's a tough thing in our state, but if I can find a couple hundred acres, just a couple hundred, beautiful farmland, that would be great. But that's what we hope to give to our kids in the next generation, is to give them a place that maybe they don't do exactly what we do, but we set them up on the land. We really love our land. We love what we do with it, and so those things are really important to us. So that's a hope. Right now we're great in with the land we have, with the land trust and everything, but if we could have our perfect day, that would be it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Pat, thanks so much.
Hey, thank you so much
really
for having me.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations on all the success.
Thank you.
From Providence College to East Greenwich Farmer, all in a decade plus.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody. We're going to take a hard break right now. We'll be back in about 10 minutes with Nick Heeman, Chairman of the Providence School Committee. Thanks so much.